Everyone, thank you for watching our channel today. Today we are with Ana Maria from Spain, all the way from Spain. Thank you for joining us. And we have her talking about Power BI is not just a visualization tool, but a full BI tool. You have the opportunity to ask questions, whatever you want from Anna. Just type your questions down in the chat window. We will get back to your questions in the times that is appropriate to the session content. So thank you, everyone. Anna, back to you for starting.
Okay, great. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, everyone. I'm Ana Bisbe from Madrid, Spain. I'm very happy for being here today, ready to talk about Power BI as a BI tool. It's not just a visualization tool, it's a full business intelligence tool. First of all, I want to thank Reza and Radakar YouTube channel for the opportunity. So I'm really happy. Some people think about Power BI is just intended to create the visualization. Just focusing on the name, we can correct this inaccurate perception. Power indicates power, strength. And BI stands by business intelligence. Power BI is not a reporting tool. Power BI is in memory database. It's the proper data modeling is the most important thing. We will talk about it. Power BI is a great data compression and aggregation tool that supports visualizations. So I'm BI consultant, Power BI, Microsoft Power BI partner. I'm Microsoft Data Platform MVP, and I'm a leading learning trainer in Spanish language. I'm also a member of Power BI user group in Madrid, Spain. And I'm a leader of Power Platform Madrid. Now we are running Power Platform Spain too. Okay, in this session, we will see how Power BI is really a good tool. Power BI is ready to cover all the phases of BI project: integration, tabular modeling, reports and panels, machine learning, sharing, all the steps. Okay, let's start for the beginning, the ETL steps. Power BI is a really good tool for ETL step. Power Query, it's able to perform whole ETL process with plain of integrated functionalities. Let's see an example. Here we have the original data that we receive in this shape. This is not good for Power BI. And using Power Queries, we are able to prepare and to solve all the problems and to give the results like this. Here are the steps that we were applied from the beginning to the end for this particular query. All of these steps together make up the Power Query query. Advanced Editor from Power Query menu lets us to look at the steps and at the M language within the query. Depending on the complexity of our data source, we are able to see the query dependencies, which will be more or less complex depending on the situation. Let's see something in the Power Query query. Here we have the Power Query windows for Power BI. In this case, for example, here is the sample. I was connecting to the data. As you can see, here we have tons of problems. for example, the values here are null. Also, we have different format here, and it's difficult for Power BI to define the type for the column. Next, it's possible to remove all the rows we don't need, remove all the columns we don't need, and now we are able to see that we have this structure. This structure is not good because the data were pivoted. So we have all the continents and the data for population. Now we are able to do the unpivot, and now it's clear, it's okay, it's fine. The next steps is just for cleansing data. So rename column, change type, and now we need to solve the problems with this column, replacing value, changing it again the type and replacing again the value. So we are cleaning the values. This Power Query editor, it's really good. The advanced editor is here, so we're able to see all the transformations together. And also, it's interesting to speak about the profiles, the distribution and profile. So if we are looking at a column distribution, it's really useful. It's really useful because Power BI is answering the question we didn't make it. So we didn't anything, just connecting, promote headers, and so on. And now we have really interesting information, for example, about the data quality. We are able to see that we have null values. We are able to see the distribution of the values here, and also we have the information about the distinct and the unique values. All of this is really important. In this case, for example, we could think about, okay, probably I have a ground value here for one color because it's not clear here what about this unique color is. If we are looking at the column profile for this column, now we have not a problem here, but the only problem is just one product, it's great. So Power BI using this Power Query Windows, it's able to it allows us to make all the transformation for the values and all the research for the values for the columns. It's really good tool for us with a lot of transformations, a lot of possibilities for cleansing and for modeling our data. The next step, it's the tabular modeling. When we are working with Power BI, we have different models, 3 possible models here. Unique tables, that means Excel mode. Then Snowflake, when we have all the related tables together and a normalized weight. And we have the star schema mode. Power BI loves star schema, so we need to try to perform a really good star schema as much as possible because it's the best option for our DAX coding, because for the modeling, for the performance. Okay, so taking in account the 3 options, please try to select all the time the star the star schema model. Speaking about the model, I want to show you there is a great Power BI guidance, especially for modeling. Okay, I found these articles really useful, a lot of examples here, a lot of concepts here, so it's really useful. At the time we are working with modeling, we are able to select the properties and customize tables, columns, measures. It's this point of the BI process. It's really important. For example, we are able to manage relationship. We are able to, for example, mark a table as a date, manage relationship, create parameters, sort one column by another, and of course define the different properties for summarization and for data categories. So taking account all these options for modeling without DAX. By now we have no DAX, but there are a lot of different properties. They are really, really important for all of this process. And now we have DAX, tabular modeling with DAX. DAX stands by data analysis expression. Using DAX, we are able to obtain a measure, for example, and we are able to obtain a measure using just a single column, like this case, total quantity. It's the sum of all the values for quantity column from a sales table, or we're able to create a measure from multiple columns of just one table, or multiple columns using different tables. And the point here is not to modify the model. In this case, this column, product list price is an attribute of product. It's not an attribute of the sales itself. So it's important to maintain the model, to save our model and use DAX properly for creating all these kind of calculations. In this case, we are using, for example, we are using here the aggregation using sum. Now we have an iterator here using sum x. And for this case, we are using sum x and the relation function related, relation or navigation function related, just for looking at the other table. So it's important to take care about the model, because it's the core of the Power BI, the model, all the time model, and all the time DAX, and always DAX for saving our modeling. We are able to use DAX for create filtering comparison. For example, if we need to obtain the value for Australia, we are able to use the calculate function just for keep the values and change the context filter here. And we are able also to combine using different DAX expressions depending on the scenarios. We are use one expression or other. That means, of course, we will not use this kind of columns in our projects, in our reports and dashboard. But it's interesting to see that for this case, calculate is able to change the filter context, and all the values are the same because of the Australia values. And in the second, in this case, we are taking in account the results of function values. That means the values will be shown just in case we are looking at the Australia. So this kind of expressions allows us to create a lot of transformations, a lot of business logic solution. In this case, for example, we are looking at the difference between one value and the other countries, taking in account the value that we want to show or not in the total line. So DAX, and always DAX, avoid as much as possible calculated columns and use DAX properly for solve all the solution, all the problems. DAX is the clue for solving all the business logic, because of um, the idea of the DAX is the following. We will obtain the results depending on the evaluation context, and the evaluation context depends on the logic of the filters that users is applying, and also, of course, depending on the functions, depending on the DAX expression we are creating here. So it's interesting that DAX, it's the clue here. So we need to learn DAX for obtain all the solution for the business problems here. Okay, and DAX, of course, is a way.
Sorry,
Yes, yes,
sorry, Anna. Just something because it is related to the content you are talking about. There is a question about what is the difference between M and DAX. If you can explain that in the
yes,
middle of
yes,
that,
yes,
would be
yes.
great. Thank you.
We have um, um, here we have M. M is the language that we are using for the query. So here we have all these steps we are doing for improving the quality of the data and improving the modeling, but at the ETL step. So we are speaking about the query. And DAX is the language for solving these kinds of problems for tabular modeling. So tabular model is the model that we create before, after loading the data from the query to the model. Now we have a model, and we will be looking at the model, at the data, using DAX. DAX is the query language for our tabular model. DAX was created looking at the Excel language. All the Excel functions are still in DAX, but the good news is that DAX allows us a lot of different solutions behind it's a lot much than Excel, because of the iterators, because of the time intelligence functions. There's tons of solutions that we are able to create using DAX. So M for query, we there's tons of options we can do, and tons of solution we can provide without typing M, because M language is typing. By the way, we are talking, for example, if I filter here for for example, I could black columns, black color, as you can see here, was creating just a sentence for filtering. M code was writing from a Power BI query and not from me, and just did the transformation. Using DAX, we need to create all the metrics. We need to type the functions. We need to improve and to use the language. Okay, so DAX, I was saying that DAX is great for solving all the time intelligence business problems. Much better than Excel, of course. We will need a calendar table. For example, this is a really simple calendar table using calendar function, calendar DAX function, but we have a lot of possibilities, a lot of ideas. For example, we are able to create a calendar table using query also. Reza has a code for calendar table in using M. Chris Webb, Matt Allington. So there are some of samples from their Power BI community, and we are able to create also using DAX. Here, for example, using calendar function, and as far as we have this calendar function, it's as we have calendar table. Calendar table means from the beginning to the end of the year, all the dates without repetitions, without duplicates, without gaps. No, all the dates for the year. And after that, we are able to use the same calculate function. Calculate is the best of is the mother of the functions is on DAX. And then using the time intelligence functions, like in this case, this one. In this case, we are talking about the following. We are using a first variable for the total sales. There is a definition for total sales anywhere. And then we are looking at the total sale from the last year. So we are moving by this calendar table 1 year. And using this approach, we are able to see the values for the same period of the last year. And using this function is a great function because we are able to analyze different levels, year, quarter, month, day, and we are able to move these elements um, for in one direction or another. Here we have a really good modeling option, the what if parameters, and I want to show you here. I have a lot of samples here just for the case we need to answer questions. What is modeling? Here we have a what if parameters. What if parameters lets us to see the difference of the values depending on the conditions. In this case, for example, I've created a parameter for month. So I am able to select and to move. For example, I want to see the values 3 months later or 2 months later or just 1 month, as you are able to see that the values are changing here depending on the values for my parameters, for the what if parameters. It's a really good stuff. Power BI using this function. Here we have the windows for defining the values for this parameter. And then in this case, for example, Power BI creates a table using a DAX table function, generate series. In my case, for the 1 year forward and ago, this from -12 to 12, and also create a measures here, a measures taking the value for this slicer. So this selected value function takes the values that I'm looking here, and if I move, now the values will be -2, and these values will be showing in this case, and this function is here, and will be here. No, the other. Okay. As you can see, month value will be the dynamic value for these cases. Not -1, no -3, no, it's not a dark hard code value here. It's a dynamic value because of what if functionality. It's a great functionality from Power BI. So you can see this is the window, this is the table, this is the slicer, all together, all the DAX functions involved here, and we are able to see the results moving. And there's a lot of solutions that are related to what if parameter. There's a lot of samples, and of course, Power BI, it's also a visualization tool. There's a charts, visuals. We are able to create reports, dashboards. Okay, so we have some visuals integrators, and we are able to work and customize our visual using the three views we have. We have fields. We are able to drop here the columns for each properties. We have format titles, labels, and so on, colors, everything we need. And analytics is really streamlining, really useful for example, for statistics point of view, because of the options depending on the chart we are using. So we have also a lot of functions here, functionalities. We are able to do filtering. We are able to customize tooltips, to work with bookmarks, with panels, conditional formatting, with themes, and more and more and much more. Okay, let's look at some samples here. Okay, for example, here we have a dashboard. Okay, Power BI is a great tool for filtering, because we are able to do a click, drag it, drop it. It's really easy to work with different options, and as you can see, all the values are related and are working properly. We are able to work with slicers. Slicer is a great filter. And for example, here I'm selecting Austria. Okay, let's something Canada. Canada. Okay, I'm looking at dashboard, and because the slicer are synchronized, because I was preparing that way, we are able to see that if we are looking at the dashboard too, it's also selected Canada. We are able to select Australia here, and now dashboard will show Australia. So are really good functionalities involved here. For example, if we are looking at the slicer with data, with dates, we are able to work with relative dates and times. So tons of functionalities here. In any case, we are able, for example, to filter the value, including, excluding, working with, for example, we are able to exclude these values for redefine the, the axis values. There's tons of options here in the filters panels. It's a really important option here for working. Okay, so do not lose any of the options we are able to work with in Power BI, because there's ton of possibilities, ton of options, ton of solutions here that are really interesting and really useful. For example, we are able to here I have the values for children's, or I have the values for education. I'm using the AdventureWorks data. And for example, we are able to drill through to the page I've created before. And now we have all the values filtering by this one. There's a ton of solutions, ton of options. So I just wanted to show you that we need to work with all the possibilities, and we need to be aware, because all the months, every month, we have new options. The drill through options is one of the most improved options for Power BI in the latest time. So we are able to improve a lot of our reports. Here we have also the visualization, the custom visuals in our marketplace. It's interesting because there's a lot of possibilities beyond the Power BI integrated visuals. So there are tons, again, possibilities. Do not lose. A lot of these options are free. A lot of these options are using integrated R code. So tons of possibilities here. Okay, so let's look at the machine learning inside of our Power BI. Power BI is able to execute machine learning algorithm, and it's able to, for example, create distribution panels and profile panels. We saw already in Power Query, and then tons of functionalities here, and Power BI also has three machine learning visuals. For example, we are able to analyze the increase or decrease, and this is a great option in Power BI. In this case, for example, if we look just at this chart, we probably will say that our activity is great because we are improving and improving. But if we analyze and explain this increase, Power BI is able to look at the columns. And for example, in this case, Power BI found that we have less values for the last year than before. And we have here 4 charts. And in this case, this is a waterfall chart and then scatter chart. In this case, we are able to see that just we have more than one, in this case, product model that we have problems here, more than one. And if we look at the ribbon chart, we are able to see all the models that we sold in the 2018 or 2019, even if we sold in just one of these years, and also the information about the variation between one year and the other. We are able to select this chart if is useful for us, and after this analysis, we are able to analyze for each country what was the behavior for each country here. Is really interesting, because depending on the values we are selecting and filtering here, Power BI it's making it's doing the analysis. Also, we have another machine learning option here for analyzing, for finding where the distribution is different. In the first case, for explaining the increase and decrease, we need to take a time value for a year, a date value for the axis. But for the distribution, we don't need this case. And it's interesting because here we are able to see that if we are looking at the forest, the values are great. But if we are looking very carefully, the values are not so good. So, and Power BI is again answering the question we ever didn't. So here we have three visuals for machine learning. For example, as you can see, I have here the values for quantity by educations. If we create a double click with a mouse, we are able to find the values, for example, quantity, and now it's great. But if I forgot the value for example, the education column, and I think that is study, for example, I will say the study, Power BI is not able to see the column. But this object, it's a machine learning, so it's able to learn. We are able to manage we are able to teach the Q&A, and we are able to say, okay, study for me will be the same as education. And if we select education, Power BI knows how to filter the values. So in this case, I need to close the windows, and now it's ready. So it's really, really good stuff because of the machine learning integrated. For all the questions, for all the machine learning questions, Power BI is working looking um, at the visible columns. So it's important. I didn't show the model here for the model view. It's important to define which columns will be hidden, because machine learning algorithm will be looking at the visible columns. So it's really, really important to define properly. So, okay, analyze increase and decrease and distribution difference. Key influencers. Key influencers is other of the visuals here. Key influencer is a great stuff, because in this case we are analyzing the we have an information about the customers, and we have a columns with information about the this customer is a buyer, was a buyer, or was not a buyer. So depending on the values of children, homes, cars, age, children's home, incomes, etc., Power BI integrated machine learning algorithm will be able to define and to uh, mm, figure out which columns and which values will be great for the decision about the buying or not. In this case, I'm looking at the 0, so that means not buying. So people too old or people with too many children will not buy the bicycle. But if we change to 1, that means buyer, so we will be able to see the values that the algorithm were founded for this option. It's really, really good stuff. And also we have another option here for top segments. So in this case, for this segment, we will find for all the people with age between 34 and 22 and 42, and with car between 0 and 1. And for these people, the probability of buyer is really, really, really big. So there's a different solution here for machine learning with Power BI. If we upload our data to Power BI service, there's tons of options here. I'm a consultant, so data is never mine. Data it's from the customers. All the time I'm working for the first time with the data, I'm upload the data to the Power BI service. Power BI service runs tons of algorithm and look at the data all the time to the visible columns, and it's able to realize about the trending, about the trends, about the clustering, the values. Here we have anomalies, about the distribution and so on. It's really, really good stuff. And if we look at the one options here, we are able to continue the analyzing. So all the algorithms are able to return the conclusion of the analysis. Okay. See.
There are a couple of questions.
Okay.
One is that how much you can rely on the AI kind of visuals that is provided by Power BI. Some people asking that, is it giving you like proper answer, or it might give you something that it's not still reliable?
I think it's reliable. I was testing using R and Python, and the results are really similar. The problem here is you have no the control. Power BI has the control, but you has also not the responsibility. So you are able to see the results without working on the code, without working on the definition of the functions, or without typing any programming language code. And I think that it's a really, really good question, because, for example, here, if we looking at the analytics options here for line charts, if we are looking at the analytics option, for example, for trend line, or even for defining forecast, if Power BI, for example, if we select Germany here, Power BI it's not able to define the forecast because of the quality of the data, because of the patterns of the data. So if the data is not so good for defining the patterns, Power BI gives you the answer that Power BI gives to you is, I have no patterns, I have no predictions. So it's honest. It's good for me. It's enough. It's very good for me. And if in that case that I need more, so I have the chance of working with R visuals or Python visuals, or I also we are able to work with R and Python transformations here. I'm using a lot of R and Python transformations and visuals because of depending on the situation. I'm using R for maps, for example, because of depending on the situation. For me, it's better. It gives me a better solution, but I think it's reliable. But you have no the control. It's like a black box. But for me, it's enough. It's a great solution. Yeah. Do you have other questions?
Sorry. Yes, there is another one as well, which I don't quite understand. Maybe it's clear for you. There's a question about when you pass your mouse on a chart, there's a little resume coming up. How can we create that? I didn't really understand it, but
Probably tooltip.
right, okay.
Probably
Yeah, maybe that's the question. Yes.
it was about tooltip.
But I'll just
For
ask him to
yes,
explain
for
more. Yeah, yeah. You can
yes.
continue, please.
Okay. Okay. So depending on the chart, we are able to create different types of tooltips, and we are able to create a totally customized tooltip. Is also a great functionality here. But it's possible that the options probably the options could be this one, because I was preparing a drill through page here, but I'm not sure that if this was the question. Okay.
Yes, I got just confirmation. The question is about tooltip. Yes.
Okay. We have tons of options here. Okay, I will select another. For example, here for colors, I will, for example, if we passed the mouse for all the columns, we have information about all the columns involved on all the properties we have here at the files view. For example, we are able to add columns. For example, if I want to add here an information about products. Now, because I was taken to this one, now we have two values for quantity and for products for each case. We're able to customize tooltips from the format view. We are able to customize, for example, we are able to change the colors and so on. For example, I don't know which colors. Okay, well, it's not great, but value, for example, dark. Okay, now we are able to, and also we are able to create a tooltip, special tooltip information for this color. In this case, I will create really quickly just one new page. New page. This page will be create just for tooltip, and the size will be also for tooltip, and we will show you the view. Okay, I will. Okay. We'll show the actual size. Okay, and for example, I will just put here quantity, and okay, and for example, this one for quantity, customer quantity, whatever. Okay. Just product quantity, and for education. Okay. Okay. In this case, it's better to read off of titles and no title, not labels, no labels, yes, but no legend and so on, for example. And if we select the column, for example, I will select the color columns to here, to tooltip. Now we will be able to see the new tooltip for our analysis. This is a new tooltip for color NA, for black, for red, and for everything. Tooltip is a great functionality for Power BI. We're able to do tons of things using Power BI. Power BI is a great tool for visualization, yes, but it's not only for visualization. It's a BI tool. totally BI tool. ETL, there were my conclusions here. The ETL, modeling, reporting, collaboration, machine learning, so on. So Power BI, it's a BI tool. Great tool. I'm finishing the presentation. I don't know if you have another questions.
Okay,
I'm
thank
ready.
you. Was great, especially answering those questions. A lot of people in the chat window are thankful of answering those questions. There was a question about like using Power BI or and TensorFlow. It's not related to this session, but I thought maybe it's something you are aware of because I don't.
No, I'm not a specialist on
Yeah.
TensorFlow. No.
Okay. So yeah, the person who asked this question, go and check out our website. Contact Leila. She probably know a little bit about that. It's not my area of
Ah,
expertise as well.
yes, for sure. For sure.
And
Yes, 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 yes.
yeah, and I guess
Yes.
every other questions you already answered that, which is fantastic. So thank you again. Thanks for your time this evening. There is a question like when Power Query for SSIS would be generally available, which is not again related to this, and I'm not aware of that. One last question, maybe you can wrap it up with this. How do you compare Power BI with Tableau and ClickSense?
Mm, Power BI, it's a modeling based tool. It's a database modeling tool. There is a great article by Alberto Ferrari. It's about looking at the visualization. Power BI is like Tableau, Power BI is like Click. But Power BI is the only one BI tool because Power BI is making the ETL, the modeling, the visualization, machine learning, and all the sharing options. Because we are looking today just at the Power Query, at the Power BI desktop. But Power BI is also Power BI service, is also Power BI applications for mobile devices. And Power BI, it's a great tool for all the BI process. And I will send the link. I will look at the chat for YouTube, and I will put there the link to the Alberto's Ferrari article because it was great. He said Power BI, it's a tabular model tool. It's the only one. If we are not able to compare all the structures for the other tools, they are they're great. All of them, they are great, but Power BI is the only one BI tool. Totally.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for your explanation. And with that, we just wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Stay tuned. We have more webinars coming. And thank you, Anna, for presenting. It was really great.
Thank you for inviting me. Bye.
Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Keep safe. Bye. Keep
Bye.
safe.